Welcome. Today's video is called Rivers of Faith, the Dawn of Hinduism and Buddhism in Ancient India. We will discover the origins, core beliefs, and global spread of two of the world's great religions, both born along the rivers of the Indian subcontinent. As you watch, use your handout section C to record your answers. Keep our compelling question in mind throughout. How do the beliefs of Hinduism and Buddhism reflect the conditions of ancient India, and why do they still matter today? Before either Hinduism or Buddhism could exist, a civilization had to develop. Look at the map. The Indian subcontinent was protected from invasion by two massive natural barriers, the towering Himalayas to the north and the Hindu Kush Mountains to the northwest. These geographic giants gave early Indian civilization time and space to develop. Society first thrived along the fertile Indus River, beginning around 2800 BCE, and eventually spread eastward to the Ganges River Valley. Over time, a blend of the indigenous Harappan people and migrating Indo-Aryan peoples created the complex culture that would give rise to major world religions. So how did Hinduism begin? Unlike most world religions, Hinduism has no single founder. It evolved gradually over many centuries, blending the beliefs of early Indian groups, especially the Harappans and the Indo-Aryans. The Indo-Aryans brought sacred texts called the Vedas, collections of hymns, rituals, and philosophical teachings. These merged with local traditions to form a highly complex system of philosophy and ritual. At the center of all these traditions is one shared idea, a belief in many forms of one supreme universal God, a concept known as Brahman. Pause here and think. Which geographic features protected early Indian civilization from frequent invasion? Now let's look at the core beliefs at the heart of Hinduism. Notice the circular diagram on this slide. It shows the cycle called samsara, the continuous, eternal cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth. What keeps you in that cycle? Karma, the universal law of cause and effect. Every good or bad action you take directly influences your status in the next life. How do you build good karma? By following your dharma, your cosmic duty and righteous path. And what is the ultimate goal? Moksha. When a soul achieves complete understanding, it is released from the cycle of samsara and reunites with the divine. These four concepts work together as a system. Hinduism did not only shape spiritual life, it shaped all of Indian society. Look at the pyramid on this slide. Hinduism heavily influenced India's social and cultural development through a rigid hierarchy justified by karma. At the top were the Brahmins, priests and scholars. Next came the Kshatriyas, warriors and rulers. Below them were the Vaishyas, merchants and farmers. At the base were the Shudras, laborers and servants. Over time, these four varnas were subdivided into thousands of specific hereditary groups called jati, what we call the caste system. A person's jati dictated their profession, community, and daily life based entirely on their birth. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, born around 563 BCE in present-day Nepal, a prince who had everything. But when Siddhartha left his palace, he encountered suffering he could not ignore: an old man, a sick man, a corpse, and a wandering monk. These four sights drove him to abandon his life of luxury and seek the ultimate answer to human suffering. After deep meditation beneath a tree, he achieved enlightenment and became known as the Buddha, the enlightened one. Importantly, Buddhism developed out of Hinduism, keeping concepts like karma and reincarnation, but entirely rejecting the authority of the priests and the rigid caste system. Pause and think, how does karma directly interact with the Hindu concept of samsara? After achieving enlightenment, the Buddha shared what he had learned. The foundation of his teaching is called the Four Noble Truths. 1. All life involves suffering. 2. Suffering is caused by desire and craving. 3. The cure for suffering is to overcome desire. 4. The way to overcome desire is the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is a practical guide to right behavior, speech, thought, and meditation. It is sometimes called the middle way because it avoids both extreme luxury and extreme self-denial. Following the Eightfold Path leads to nirvana, the ultimate goal of Buddhism, a state of perfect peace, enlightenment, and permanent release from the cycle of rebirth. Buddhism might have remained a small regional belief, but one emperor changed everything. Mauryan Emperor Ashoka, who ruled around 268 BCE, conquered much of India through brutal warfare. But when he witnessed the massive bloodshed his campaigns caused, he was horrified. This was his turning point. Ashoka converted to Buddhism, choosing a new path of peace, nonviolence, and public welfare. He carved Buddhist teachings into massive stone pillars across his entire empire to demonstrate benevolent rule. And critically, he sent missionaries throughout Asia, to places like Sri Lanka and Burma, transforming Buddhism from a local belief system into a major world religion. Now let's put the two religions side by side. Look at this comparison table. Hinduism evolved over centuries with no single founder. Buddhism was founded by one historical figure, Siddhartha Gautama. The supreme goal of Hinduism is moksha, union with the divine Brahman. The supreme goal of Buddhism is nirvana, enlightenment and peace. And in terms of social structure, Hinduism supported the strict varna and caste system, while Buddhism rejected the caste system and was open to all, regardless of birth. But both share foundational beliefs in karma, dharma, and reincarnation, also known as samsara. Pause and think. Why might Buddhism have been particularly appealing to people in the lower classes of ancient Indian society? How did Hinduism spread beyond India? While Hinduism remained most concentrated on the Indian subcontinent, becoming the defining cultural force of the region, it did travel. Indian merchants and priests sailing the Indian Ocean brought Sanskrit literature, architecture, and concepts of dharma to foreign royal courts. Along lucrative maritime trade routes, Hinduism gradually spread to Southeast Asia, to kingdoms in present-day Cambodia, where the temple complex Angkor Wat was built as a Hindu temple, and to Indonesia, which still has a large Hindu population today on the island of Bali. Buddhism spread differently and much farther. Buddhist monks traveled alongside merchants on the great overland trade routes, including the famous Silk Road, carrying their teachings through harsh deserts all the way to Central Asia and China. As Buddhism spread to China, Korea, and Japan, it did not simply replace local traditions, it adapted. It blended with existing philosophies and cultures to create new schools of thought, including Zen Buddhism in Japan. The result was profound. Buddhism deeply influenced the art, architecture, philosophy, and politics of nearly every society it touched in East and Southeast Asia, a legacy that endures to this day. Today, Hinduism remains the majority religion in India. Through global migration, large Hindu communities, known as diaspora communities, practice Hinduism worldwide. Buddhism, while now a minority in India, remains a dominant cultural and spiritual force across East and Southeast Asia. And the ideas these two religions introduced to the world, yoga, meditation, karma, nonviolence, have permanently shaped modern global culture. Pause and think. Name two methods by which these ancient belief systems spread beyond the Indian subcontinent. Now, return to our compelling question. You are ready to write your CER response.